Hello, so good to meet you all, even if it's virtually. I'm Anastasia. I am one of Ramatu's best friends, family, and I'm also co-founder for the amazing Ramatu Foundation for Girls and Women's Empowerment. I'm so happy to have been given the opportunity to speak with you all today. I hope you're having a wonderful time and you're excited about moving into a future where women are equal members of our society. So today I'm going to be speaking on this year's International Women's Day theme, which is Break the Bias. I'm going to talk about why it's so important to break down gender stereotypes for the good of both men and women and all of society. So let me just share my presentation with you. So, why is breaking the bias against women important? This is the first thing I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to break down what bias is and what we can do to prevent bias against women. After that, I am going to talk about the great women of Sierra Leone, of which I'm sure there are many in this room today. And then after that, I'm going to talk about the great women of the UK and how these women in both Sierra Leone and the UK have been breaking down these biases and achieving great things. And then, of course, on that topic, I am going to talk about the great women of the Ramatu Foundation, which is why we're all here today, before going into some closing comments. So, why is breaking the bias against women so important? What is bias and how does it affect women? So, bias is an inclination or prejudice against a person, especially in a way that is considered unfair. How does it affect women? So there are many ways it can affect women, but some of the big examples are our families and friends don't always support us to obtain education or jobs because it can wrongly be seen as a man's occupation. When we apply for a job or educational program, we are often less likely to get a position based on entrenched ideas and biases about women. And also women are often treated with discrimination or hatred based on these wrongful biases about women. For example, we can be left out of important discussions because we're not seen as intelligent enough, or sometimes we can even be sexually harassed because we're seen as sexual objects rather than people. This is a problem for men as well as women. Gender bias is an economic issue. Gender equality is good business. In a survey last year of 366 companies, consultancy business McKinsey & Company found that those whose leadership roles were balanced between men and women, so roughly 50% men, 50% women, would have higher financial returns. The businesses were making more money based on hiring more women. Equally, households where both men and women work have much higher incomes, but this can only be achieved if women are supported to become educated and empowered. Gender bias is also a social issue. When biases are applied to women, they're also applied to men. For example, wrongful ideas about women being more emotional than men leads to bad things for both men and women. Women, for example, are not given leadership roles or jobs because they are seen as not capable because of this bias. And on the other hand, men are pressured into not talking about their feelings or emotions and therefore have bad mental health. It can, in some cases, be a life or death issue. In the UK, men are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than women because of this gender bias. So, in conclusion, gender equality empowers everyone. So how can we break the bias? Support the women in your life. Encourage them both in the home and professionally. In the home, contribute to household labour so that women around you have time to study and work. Challenge anti-women ideas. If you hear someone saying something hateful or discriminatory about women, challenge them, even if the person saying it is a woman themselves. You will help so much by doing this and make women feel safe and empowered. Allyship. So allyship is defined as when a person advocates and works for the inclusion of women in a part of life where women are discriminated against, even if you are not a woman yourself. This is to show solidarity and empathy to the women around you. Now, as brilliant examples of what the world and society can achieve when both men and women are equal, I'm going to talk about some of the amazing male feminists in my life and the women who raised them, who allowed them and empowered them to become successful individuals themselves because they came from women who were empowered. So, on the top left, we have my brother, Marius, and he is getting excellent school grades. I can't say more than that because he is only 14, but he is doing really, really well. Then we've got Richard, who is my partner, and he has a bachelor's, master's and PhD in chemistry and is now working as a research chemist. We have another one of my best friends along with Ramatu, Ore. He has a bachelor's and a master's in neuroscience and he's currently completing a PhD in neuroscience as well. And we have Sam Ghaznavi, who is a practicing doctor of medicine. Now these men all came from brilliant, powerful women. There is my mum. That's a picture of me and my mum there. And my mum has a bachelor's and master's in English, and she has worked for 22 years as an English teacher. Me and my brother Marius could not have done the amazing things we've done without her. My partner Richard, this is his mum, Lynn. So she has a bachelor's degree in education, and she's the head of department in a school that she's worked at for many, many years. He has been so supported by having a mother who is educated. Then Ore's mother, Esther. Now she is a phenomenal woman, and when I asked Ore about her, he said she's got too many degrees to list. Can you believe that? But to break it down, she has a bachelor's and master's in nursing and midwifery. She has a PhD in advanced nursing practice, and her job is as a research nurse. And finally, we have Sam Ghaznavi's mother, Arezu. And Arezu has a master's and bachelor's in nursing, and she has a job both as a nurse and as assistant surgeon saving lives. So some powerful examples of how empowered women empowered men and vice versa. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some great women in Sierra Leone's history who are pioneering examples of why we must continue to break gender biases. I'm going to start with Hannah Benkakoka, who was later awarded an MBE. So Hannah is one of the founders of the Freetown Secondary School for Girls, which was established in 1926. She organised a group of close family members and friends to plan a school that would offer a comprehensive, world-class educational programme for girls. Funnily enough, a bit like me and Ramatu, one of her friends was a woman named Maisie Osora, who was British, who was also the founder and teacher at another girls' school named the Annie Walsh Memorial School, also in Freetown. So clearly there's been a lot of bonds like Ramatu and I for years and years. In January 1926, this Freetown Secondary School for Girls opened with a student body of 20. Hannah and her friend Maisie were principal and vice principal. The Freetown School for Girls was the only school that had classes all the way from kindergarten through to secondary school. And in 1944, Hannah was awarded an MBE for her amazing services to education. What a phenomenal woman. Then we have Lati Hyde Forster, who also got an MBE. So Lati was the first woman to graduate Fora Bay College. She was also the first African woman school principal in all of Sierra Leone, which is an amazing achievement. She was born in Murraytown, and her mother was a professional woman, a postmaster and a registrar of births and deaths in Murraytown. So this is a living example of how empowered women empower their children. So Lati went to secondary school at the Annie Walsh Memorial School, which was one of the schools founded by our last woman, Hannah. She faced a lot of discrimination there, and could you believe she was once told she went to college to lead a loose life. But she was a strong woman and she persisted in her studies against this discrimination. In 1938, she was the first woman to graduate from Fora Bay College, and later she was awarded an MBE for her services to education and the community. And then finally, we have the still living legend of Dr. Talabi Lucan. So Dr. Talabi is a famous educationist, writer, scholar and biographer. Her works include The Life and Times of Paramount Chief Madame Ella Koblo Lama. She wrote the children's classic Jennifer and the Road, and she's written lots and lots of textbooks for schools and universities in Sierra Leone, including a famous book that you may have heard of called Civics for Sierra Leone. So Dr. Talabi is a lifelong advocate for women's rights, nationally and abroad. She founded the Sierra Leone branch of the Common Way of Human Ecology Council. This later became an independent council called the Council for Human Ecology in Sierra Leone. So this council is an NGO and a non-profit organisation. This council that she founded, its current activities include agricultural skills training to over 100 women and young people in need, including garra tie dyeing, soap making, cassava bread making, as well as a new project for kids in need. The project is also amazingly improving the houses of those in need by using recycled materials to make better components for buildings, and is teaching people new skills in building manufacture. All of this was achieved from the leadership of a woman. So now we are going to hear a few words from Dr. Talabi herself on the importance of empowering women in education.
At the time, I realized that girls were not having much of an opportunity of getting an education, of going to school, and something had to be done about that. First of all, the girl child had to realize that it was necessary for her to be educated, for her to go to school. And I thought that many girls then did not think it necessary to go to school. Well, you know, the tribal situation was that, they grew up to a certain age and they have to go into society, and the important thing was that they should get married. And so I thought that it was time we changed our ideas, changed the focus of the girl child, and let the girl child realize that education is important and that she should try to get an education and then to take a more important place in society. I am interested in my own kind, in women, that I'm interested in, because we have been disadvantaged all our lives. Women are so disadvantaged that, something has to be done to help them move on, or to bring out what is good in them. So if somebody doesn't do that, then you find that you men take advantage. And if there's anything more that I can do, to make the world realize that women matter, I would go all out to do it. I was invited to a conference where I was able to talk about the Sierra Leone environment, and as a result of that, I was inspired to come back and set up a branch of the organization, which was the Commonwealth Human Ecology Council. They were the ones who, the members of that council, who inspired me to come and set up a branch of the council in Sierra Leone. And that branch became the Council for Human Ecology in Sierra Leone. For short, it is CHECSIL. These women were from the provinces During the war they came and they were occupying camps around. So we called them in. I would advise them to be serious and, not to get their focus right. Their focus is on their own future. And their future does not depend on anybody but themselves.
What an amazing woman. And here is a photo of school children of the We Are the Future school in Freetown. It had new classrooms built with funding from this council that Dr. Talabi founded. So, now on the UK side, I'm going to talk about some amazing women who are breaking biases from the UK. So this first slide is of the suffragettes. So the suffragettes were a women's rights movement. Their main fight was so that women were allowed to vote. They used art and campaigning techniques to fight for female suffrage. Suffrage means the right to vote. So women had won the right to vote in several countries by the point that the suffragettes were fighting for this right. When by 1903 women in Britain still couldn't vote, their leader, a woman named Emmeline Pankhurst, decided that women had to do the work ourselves. And after all of their protests and after women took over men's jobs during the Second World War, the suffragettes won and women gained the right to vote. Their big campaign slogan was "Deeds, not words," which is so true for the fight we have today. For true equality, we have to show it in our actions, our deeds, not just our words. And then I'm going to quickly talk about some famous female UK scientists. So the first lady we have here is Ada Lovelace. Ada Lovelace was, can you believe, the world's first computer programmer. So all of the computers you use now, all of your technology, your phones, is thanks to this amazing woman. So she also was the first person to realise that computers could become what they would come today. So not just for calculators, for number crunching, but for everything else, for sharing pictures and videos and talking to each other. So in the middle, we have Mary Seacole. So Mary Seacole was a pioneering nurse. Basically, she was the daughter of an English soldier and a Jamaican mother. And she had to overcome so many biases and prejudices in her life. When a war occurred in Crimea, she funded her own way there and established this special hospital to look after sick soldiers on her own terms, charitably. And she successfully saved the lives of so many men from cholera and yellow fever and war wounds. And then the last one we have here is Rosalind Franklin. So Rosalind Franklin was another scientist, and she's helped change the world of science forever. So basically what she did is she figured out the fact that our genes are made of DNA. She did the X-ray work that allowed us to realise the DNA structure is a double helix, which has been so important for advances in medicine. And then, of course, we have the great women of the Ramatu Foundation. So, of course, we have Ramatu, our amazing director and visionary and leader, and soon to be graduate, which is amazing. We have Umu, who is an amazing volunteer. She's a phenomenal woman, and she works closely with Ramatu to fulfill all of the foundation's aims. And then, finally, we have me. So, the foundation's co-founder from the UK, and I've just graduated a master's myself. You know, we are strong, professional women who are making things happen. Please support us and keep fighting to break the bias against women. So thank you so much for attending the Ramatu Foundation's celebration of International Women's Day. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation and will enjoy the rest of the day's events. Thank you so much to my amazing sister and ongoing inspiration, Ramatu. You are a treasure, we love you, and you're doing amazing things for women in Sierra Leone and in the UK. You're an inspiration, and together let's break the bias.